Hey guys, how's it going? On today's video, we're going to be continuing with the E30 5-lug Ultimate 5-lug swap, and we're going to be assembling the 2.93 LSD with the Z3M fin diff cover, the Z3M output flanges, and the garagistic secondary diff mount. I won't be installing the actual diff mount in this video. It'll probably be in when I do the rest of the assembly. So if you don't want to wait for that, go check out my buddy DiffAuto. He has a great video explaining how to install that in your E30. If you haven't already checked out the overview video of everything, the link's right there. And if you haven't seen the caliper build video, the link is also right there. So I'm going to transfer all this to the table, and we'll get started. Again, I just want to reiterate, I am not a mechanic. I am a YouTube mechanic. So I'm just trying to show what I'm doing and some tips and tricks on how to do it. So that's it. Let's go along with the video. So now that I got everything on the table, I still have a few things to clean up before reassembly. I got to do the two shims, and I'm going to quickly clean up the output flanges. But to start, Garagistic has some really nice bushings and they're really nice press fit. So if they don't fit, the easiest thing to do is pop in the freezer for a little bit and they'll go right in. So I'm going to pop these 95A center diff bushings in the freezer and I'll be right back. So now that the bushings are in the freezer, I'm just going to knock out the easy stuff and just pop in the fill and drain plugs from ECS Tuning. Right there. Put this one in. They have O-rings, so you don't need crush washers. So now that's in. I'm going to quickly go clean up this bracket right here, and then I'm going to reassemble the speed sensor with the new O-ring. So let me clean this up. Okay, I gave the bracket a quick coat of paint real quick. When installing the bracket, you want to make sure that the line is on the inside of the diff cover. So I'm going to quickly remove the old O-ring with a pick. Just get in there and pull it off. I'm going to give it a quick clean with a rag just to get all the loose dirt off. That's the old one. I'm going to slide the new one on. Set it in there. And then again, you want to see that the line's right there. I also didn't buy a new speed sensor just because this one, it was good out of my other diff. So I just thought there'd be no reason to buy another one. So I'm just gonna add the bracket here. There we go, pops right on. And we're just gonna, I wanted to get all my bolts zinc plated, but it would take too long. And I would like the car back together in a shorter time frame. So unfortunately, the bolts will not be getting zinc plated. But pop that in there. It's just a 10 mil. Get that set in there. Get the other one set in there. I was reading the forum. Someone said like 10 foot-pounds of torque, but I mean, this is one of those where just kind of feel it out, and when it's tight, you'll know it's tight, and that's all you really need. So now that's all installed, I'm gonna go check to see if the bushings are ready, and if they are, we'll press it in, and if not, we'll move on to the next step. Okay, the bushings aren't ready, so I'm just gonna put the cover to the side, and we'll move on to setting up the side seals with the seal. I'm gonna go get my bearing, race, and seal driver set from, you can rent it from AutoZone, O'Reilly's, wherever you rent your tools from, or you can just buy it from Harbor Freight. It's easier just to buy it for me since I'll keep using it, so we'll do that. I'm using a 72 millimeter driver, and you just want it to sit where, if you can see, there's just a little bit covering. I looked back at a previous photo that I took to make sure I did this right, and that's all it was. I did end up scuffing a little bit on the inside since this is just paint and not powder coat. So I'm gonna go through, do the same thing, just put it on the ground, put the seal in, give it a few taps so make sure it's nice and even, and then we'll install the side seals and then the clips into the pumpkin. Now that the seals are pressed in, I'm going to take some 75 140 liquid moly Diff fluid oil, and I'm just going to lubricate the O-ring as I put it on. Oh, making a mess already. So I'm just gonna lubricate these and throw these on. Put those in there. Do the same for the other one. This one lubricated. And pop that on as well. Whoop. Perfect. And then we're gonna get on to installing these clipper rings in the pumpkin. So you can see that the ring is right here. So I'm just going to take a pick and try to get underneath it. There we go, got that out. That's the old one. We'll just kind of shimmy the new one in there. Easy. Oh, that's real loose in there. So okay, now that the little spring clips are installed, throw the pumpkin in the diff, put the side shafts back on, and start bolting it together. So now that it's somewhat in there, I'm gonna set her down. Ruined my table a little bit. I probably should have laid it down and started with. So let's bring the camera down. Probably would have been easier just to pop it in this way instead of trying to drop it from below. So needed help on that one. Thankfully my buddy was here and could help me out. So now that that's done, we're gonna put the shims and the seals back in. I tried looking up the part number and everything to make sure to see if like sides matter. All the part numbers were the same, so if you don't remember exactly which side you put it in, it's okay, because they are the same. You do want to make sure that this part is pointing up on the seal. So just gonna tap those in. Now that I did that, I'm gonna throw a few bolts into the side so it doesn't push itself back out. I'll probably go back through and Loctite these. Just throw these in. So I'm going to use a 13 mil and just slowly bring it together so it's nice and even. Okay, that side's in. I'm going to slowly screw this side in as well. Make sure it's level. Okay, now that those are all tight, the moment of truth to see how it spins. Definitely needs a little bit of lubrication, but it feels just like it did. Throw in, I still need to clean these, but I'm just gonna throw these in to test fit them. Make sure that the ring is centered. There we go. Woo! Like butter. Uh-oh. Okay. The other one in. Oh, there we go. Oh, they're in. Let's see how she spins. She's definitely stiff, so I don't know if that's because I didn't install something correctly or if that's just how it is. So okay, so I got the Z3M half shaft in. and everything moves. It is a little stiff, so I don't know if that just needs oil or I do something wrong. So but the more I spin it, the looser it gets, so I'm not really sure. So I'm gonna pop these off, torque these to 22 Newton meters, and then come back for the cover. Make sure when you are torquing these, I just torqued them and then forgot, I'm gonna put blue Loctite on each one of them. Please excuse the mess, this is gonna interrupt the video a little bit. When I had the Z3M flanges in the diff, it really stiffened up how it turned. And so when I popped those out and put the stock E30 flanges back in, it was nice and smooth. I am taking off there's an extra dust shield. So there's one here, and then there's another one, and then on the stock E30 one, there's only one dust flange. So I'm thinking that's rubbing against the inner seal. So I'm using a bearing separator to carefully take it out. You can get that also at AutoZone. You can rent it there, or you could get it at Harbor Freight. I putting a few pieces of wood in between, so that the metal, it's not metal on metal contact, trying to pull it off. So just a few pieces of wood, go like that. Take a 17 wrench or socket and just slowly turn it, and the ring should just pop right up. That's all it is. Pull the wood out, and the ring is off. So there you go. So you can see, tilt the camera down a little bit. So you can see now they look exactly the same, where this collar ring was right there and it was not on the stock E30 one. So I'm gonna now pop this one in. Much better. And there you go. And that was the cause of the friction. So also, when you're taking apart your diff, make sure, I'll put another disclaimer in the beginning of the video, but make sure you check which side and which shim goes where. The actual plates, or the actual shaft seals, don't matter which side because they're exactly the same, but the shims are different depending if they are different. I know the one on this one is slightly smaller than this one, and I do not remember which side was where, so my diff could be shimmed incorrectly. So please make sure you remember which side goes where, and then you'll have correct tolerances. Since I'm also not replacing the bearings inside, I don't need to reshim it, but because I didn't remember which side went where, that could lead to a problem down the line. So make sure that's good. So this is exactly how it should be. So let's get to finishing the dust cover and we'll be done with the diff. So another issue I was having is that the new clip rings to go in were actually significantly smaller than the ones that are currently in it. So when I would push the new flange in, they would actually pop out of place and fall into the inside of the diff. So I put the ones that were already in there back in, but you could see, these are exactly the same, but the other one, I wish I had it out so I can show it on camera. Let's see if they'll zoom in. It's the same radius, but they would actually be just slightly bigger all the way around, so it'd sit in better, where these would move around quite a bit and could just pop out when pushing in the flange. So these are the new ones that came with the new seals, but I put the old ones back in, and I tugged on it, and I don't think they're gonna come out while driving. So let's get on to finishing the cover and installing the Garagistic secondary diff mount. So now we're going to install Garagistic's extended stud kit before we get to the Z3M diff cover. So you're going to need a 7/32 Allen key and some red Loctite. I'm going to disassemble them and then, get them nice and covered in red Loctite, as you do not want these coming out. And then take your Allen key. Just make sure it's nice and seated in there. So that's nice and seated. I'm going to go through and do the rest of them, and then we'll move on to the Z3M diff cover. Okay, so I got the first bushing pressed in. I'm going to go do the other secondary diff mount one. So I put them in the freezer for about 12 hours, a little more than 12 hours, and the poly shrinks just a little bit. So you can fit it in, and you can take a piece of wood, put it underneath, and put it on top, and then whack it with a mallet, and it'll go right in. Or if you have a press, just another block of wood, and just put it in. So I'll do that for the next one, and I'll show the process. Well, the video cut out for some reason, but it's nice, even in there. You want to make sure that the lip is on the back side of each. And I did my best to line up the Garagistic logos so they are flat. But, so that's how it should look. So there we go. So the stud comes out the back, and then that's ready to be bolted on. So I got some Permatex gear oil gasket maker. I'm gonna put a nice bead around the edge here. I'm not using a paper gasket, I'm only gonna be using this. And then it says to clamp it down, but just hand tight, and then let it dry for an hour, and then we'll go through and torque it. I'm gonna make sure I have all my bolts ready to go. So I just test fitted the cover just to make sure I had all the bolts. Of course, the bolts that Garagistic supplied are perfect. I will put the part numbers for those two bolts, so I'll put that right now, and then I'll put the part number for these two bolts right now. And then I ordered these and these, but I did not order these thinking that they were going to be the same as E30 cover. They are different. So if you are not going with the Garagistic secondary diff mount, you will need 4 of these. I quickly went to Home Depot and got some grade 10 bolts. Not my favorite, but I put a little bit of a thicker washer because these are just a little bit too long. These are a little bit of a thinner washer, and that made up the difference. So you will need 4 of these, and I'll put the part number right now. So, and I'll also put all the part numbers down in the description below for everything throughout this whole build on the diff. So I'm going to take the cover off, put a nice layer of the gasket on, and then set the cover on and let that sit for an hour, and then come back when it's all done and ready to go. So now that I got the gasket on, I'm going to carefully align the cover. So it's been an hour, and the gasket is nice and tacked up. I'm going to remove all of them one by one and put blue thread locker on, because there is going to be more vibration all over the car because of the stiffer bushings. So each one I'm going to go take it out, put some blue Loctite on, and then put it back in, finger tight, do that all the way around, and then I'm going to torque them to 45 Newton meters. Kind of seems the consensus, the numbers are all over the place. So I'm going to go 45 all the way around, and then I will do a brief overview of the rest of the diff, and then we'll be done. So I got it all torqued down to 45 Newton meters. These on the top are 16s, not 17s. The rest are 17s. So that's it. As the directions do say, it should cure for 24 hours before putting in fluid. So I'm going to let it cure. So I'm going to go ahead and fill the LSD. I'm going to be using this Liquid Moly LS SAE 75-140. First of all, I'm going to start by torquing down the bottom drain plug.
to 41 foot-pounds of torque, and then we'll get to filling the diff.
So we're going to be using a
Number 14 Allen socket.
and then we're torquing it to 41 foot-pounds. Perfect. There we go. Let's fill her up.
I have her pretty level. It's a tiny bit sloped down, which is fine.
So I'm just gonna
Stick that in and just... So that is one done. Let's get to the next one. Then we're just gonna fill it until it starts coming out. There we go. So I'm gonna quickly close that up. So there you go, all done. Thank you guys for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and stay tuned for the next video where we put together the complete rear end, which, little hint, it's already done, but there you go. Stay tuned for the next video. Have a great day.